Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so honored to have on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members and the founding members of the Zombies. We've got Colin Blunstone and Rod Argent. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
You know, I grew up with your guys' music, obviously, as so many of us did, with your hit songs that are still played to this day. But you guys aren't resting on your laurels at all. You've got a brand new album out that sounds amazing with, you know, with the vocals, with the keyboards, with different game. How did this come about?
It's something that we've wanted to do for a long time. We wanted to repeat the sort of experience we did with Odessey and Oracle when it was a completely in-house experience in this, in the sense that I've got a new studio at my place. It's only a small studio, but it was designed by the guy who designed the Abbey Road studio. And so acoustically, it's just fantastic. And we had it in our head. In fact, immediately we came back from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we've been doing a lot of American gigs, actually, mostly. And we felt the band had never sounded so good. And we couldn't wait to get back home and start recording. We recorded 2 tracks in my studio, in this new studio, and I immediately farmed these 2 tracks out to a local radio station because we wanted to hear how it sounded on the radio. That's something the Stones always used to do.
Right.
And it sounded great. So we thought, fantastic, we're ready to go. And then COVID hit with a huge crash.
Right.
And for 2 years, we couldn't get together all in the same studio because we wanted to go back to an old way of recording where everybody records together. So you bounce off each other musically, that Cole does a guide vocal live, which in the end turned out to be often the master vocal. It was extraordinary. And you know, it was a great experience, but we had to stop because of COVID. It did give me the chance to write 9 songs for the album because there was nothing else for me to do. And I had the studio there, and that was an unlooked for advantage. But it was a strange time. But when we finally got everyone back into the studio again, I produced it with a wonderful sound man, Dale Hansen. So I managed to get at least my view of what my songs sounded like in my head and our recordings sounded like, and Cole's performances sounded like in my head, without anyone else interfering. So we were reproducing the experience we had with Odessey and Oracle. And
Odessey and Oracle, I've got to brag on you guys, not to interrupt, but also number 100 of the top 500 albums of Rolling Stone, you know, which is not bad. And bringing this up also, Colin, you know, obviously, you know, knowing your guys' music from over the years, so many great hits, and watching you on the rock and roll, where you guys got the membership and everything, singing and performing, and you're still hitting the notes, you know, and you guys started this band together in the early 60s. It's like going, that's just amazing.
Well, I think to some extent, there's a bit of luck involved there. I've kept the range in my voice. we perform all the songs in the original keys, and they're quite challenging for a teenager to sing in those keys. But I've retained that range. But otherwise, I do work at it. First of all, just looking after yourself, you know, making sure you're hydrated, eat well, get plenty of sleep. It's not quite what people think when you're on the road. You do have to look after yourself a little bit.
That's not what we were doing when we were 18.
And then also we both started with a singing coach. And so I do quite a lot of singing exercises every day when we're on the road. And that enables me to sing in the same key and it strengthens my voice and makes it a bit more accurate. So it may not sound quite as rock and rolly as some people would tell you about their singing, because quite a lot of work goes into it. Because when you get into the autumn of your career, as we are, to sing those notes is quite something, you know.
Well, you know, I got to say this with both of you. I think one of the things, you know, multiple things I enjoyed about the Zombies is, you know, obviously your vocal range, the harmonies, and also the keyboards, because at the time, like we were talking before we started the interview, to where the music was so keyboard driven, you know, having the Wurlitzer sound, the B3 and all these sounds, which kind of set the pace for a lot of bands going further into the 70s and 80s when you guys started doing it.
Do you know, it was a couple of extraordinary things which have given me huge pleasure, and one of them is that not that long ago I came across a post by Roger McGuinn, saying that 8 Miles High would not have happened, and if he hadn't heard my solo in She's Not There, because it was so unusual to have a piano in a rock group at the time. I never even thought about that. I just wanted to improvise wherever I could, and play a solo wherever I could. And as these guys know, and sometimes on stage it goes into a long thing, but they all follow me with great patience, so that's great. But when we had some of our early clips, whenever it got to the piano thing, they didn't understand, the cameramen didn't understand anything that wasn't a guitar, so it would go on to the drums, and I never got my picture in the actual videos, So
we were talking about that too on Rod, to where on the early videos, actually shot on film and everything, to where like you had the young lady on the couch behind, and they're doing the slow zoom in on Colin, and I'm like going, "Where's the keyboards?"
I know. And it was even worse than that, because on some of the other ones, even when they just had a still shot of everything going on, I would be on the side and you wouldn't even see the piano, So I'd written this flipping song, and you couldn't see me on there at all,
Well, I think they should keep the camera on the lead vocalist.
You still have that lead vocalist vibe going too. When you're up on the mic and everything, just like at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I know with the big international tour and everything this year, you guys still have that youth and vigor. And certainly with Different Game, with this new album, there's so many great songs on here that I enjoyed. I mean, you've certainly got some of the flavor from some of the early days, like with Oracle and Odessey. But then again, you've got some modern setting. I enjoyed the harmonica on the one track.
That was the first time I've picked up a harmonica since 56 years ago. And I know, and I didn't know if I could do it, but I really fancy putting a harmonica on that particular blues harp thing sounding on that particular track. And I didn't know if I could play it, but it was great to do that again. I mean, on our first album, which we recorded in 2 days, I played on a couple of tracks then, but my God, that was 56 years ago or more. And it was great to get it out of its old package.
It sounds so fresh. And I wanted to bring up also with the Zombies, back on tour, doing international tour. And we were talking earlier too, that your fan base has gotten so much younger. I mean, people like me, I remember being a little kid and hearing your songs on the radio as my mom was driving me in the old Pontiac. But now it's like, you've got, people in their 20s and everything, multi-generational, coming to your shows.
Well, it's absolutely true. And it's really heartening and energizing for us when we look out at an audience and we've got a complete cross section of ages really enjoying what we're doing. There are teenagers there, and there are people there who have followed us from when we very first started. And I think people get quite a shock when they come to our concerts and they see that there is this great
young component.
Yes. It's great for us. It really lifts us.
Well, and it shows how well the music holds up, because, certainly She's Not There, Time of the Season, songs like that. I mean, they still hold up great. I mean, after you listen to them, you're humming them, you're singing them down the hallway. Ask the staff here, because that's what I was doing on the way to this interview.
Oh, bless you. Do you want to give us a burst now?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd rather come see you guys in concert and have the professionals do it. Speaking of which, there's a new documentary that you guys, I'm so glad that you could get a little extra help, because Tom Hanks needed some help, and to involve him in your documentary on this.
Yeah, he is executive producer on it, I have to say, and Robert Schwartzman directed it, and he's from the Coppola family, and he knows all about film, and he's really great. He's made a really beautiful film, actually. I was a bit worried before we had the documentary, because we weren't managed well when we first started out, I have to say that, and it meant that there was almost no archiving footage that had been kept. There's only a few things. But where he found some of the stuff on the documentary, I have absolutely no idea. And even in a personal way, there was pictures that my dad was in a semi-pro dance band. He led it from the age of 17 to the age of 83.
Oh my goodness!
And there was footage of him playing. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I've only just seen the final cut, but it's fast paced. It's funny. It's very amusing, but it's fascinating, and there are one or two things that are very moving in it as well, but you'll have to wait and see.
I can't wait to watch it. I tell you what, I love those kind of documentaries, but also knowing your guys' history, starting out as friends in school, back in England, and having to play on borrowed equipment, from your friend's band because you didn't have your own music gear at the time.
That's absolutely right. And Hugh Grundy, our drummer, had only played in the Army Corps. He'd only played a side drum. He'd never played a drum kit. It's a very strange story, but it's a very unlikely story that we would have gone on and had success, because we started with, I remember Rod's cousin helped put the first rehearsal together, and years later he told us that he thought, no chance. When he saw us at the first rehearsal, no chance. But one thing I would say, is we're tenacious, and we just kept at it and kept sort of banging away till we got a local following. Right. Then we got a bigger following, and then eventually we won a big rock competition, which led to a recording contract. It took a few years to get these things going, but we did stick at it. But when we first started, I think Jim Rodford, who I was just talking about, was right. It would have given you the impression we stood no chance at all. Just 5 school kids messing around.
Well, we lived really the Dave Grohl maxim that he once said. He said, "Listen, just get a group of friends together, go into a garage and suck, and then just do it for the love of it," which we've all done actually, and we're still doing it now. That's the reason we're still playing, is to try and create new things that excite us. It's exactly the same impetus that we had when we were 18 years old, and when something works, as we feel it did on this album, because it was an in-house production in the same way we did Odessey Oracle, and we had the control over everything. It's really rejuvenating for you for that time, because it makes you feel exactly the same as when you made something work and you were 18 years old. So that's cool.
Well, and obviously, and you guys were, starting out in the early 60s, and still so vibrant today, to where you guys were part of the early British invasion. I mean, you had a following in the UK, but then you came over to the US and things just kind of exploded for you over here in the States.
Can I tell you that we were on the 9 o'clock news in England, because we were the first band after the Beatles, first English band, I'm sorry, after the Beatles, to get to #1 with a self-written composition. And I phoned home, which was a big deal in those days, phoning home. And my mum answered the phone and she said, "You've just been on the 9 o'clock news." And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? But she said, no, everything's all right. And she told me that story. So
and usually it would be the lead singer that would be on the news, because usually they got into more trouble.
That is true. Yeah,
and it was true. Actually,
it was generally true.
And he can't tell you about the trouble he got into, I'm afraid.
That'll be for another interview, right? But
a private one. Yeah.
Yes, a private one. But I'm so thankful too that you guys originally called yourself the Mustangs and then changed it to the Zombies, and it's like everybody knows the Zombies. I mean, it's just a name that is stuck throughout the years and it's timeless.
Well, absolutely. I think it was a bit obscure at the time. Remember that we were called the Zombies in 1961. So I like to think that we launched a whole zombie culture. I'm only joking.
We're not. I think you can take that credit.
But there were no zombie magazines, no zombie films.
Right.
It was a really unusual name, and one of the guys in the band just came up with it. And I got no idea what a zombie was, but it was catchy. And it stuck, so here we are.
Quick story about that. On their very first TV performance, which sadly no longer exists because the film was never kept, at Ready, Steady, Go. Ready, Steady, Go, okay. Yes. In the UK. I was wandering around, slightly lost, as is my wont, and I knocked on the door because I heard Miles Davis playing on a record in this dressing room. And the door opened and Manfred Mann was there. And he said, I said, is that Miles playing? He said, yes. And he sort of joked and said he's under the table or something. But anyway, he said, "You're Rod Argent, aren't you?" And I was flattered that he knew I was. This is right, very first TV. And he said, "I love your record, man." He said, "I really love it." He said, "But you have to change that name." So that was their first comment on the name.
Once again, he was wrong. You know, particularly when you have such artists and fans as Tom Petty and so many other musical artists, you know, have pointed to the Zombies and the music you guys did as innovative. And so not just great hit songs, #1 hit songs, gold records, and that's what I really enjoy about Different Game, is it has that live feel that you guys always achieved, you know, with the keyboards and with the different sounds that you have, and certainly with the vocals, the harmonies. It's like it has that live feel, and I know that's what you bring to concerts too.
And that's what we really wanted to do with this. We wanted to go back to an old way of recording. I mean, I've recorded in every possible way, but and producing and everything. But we wanted to go back to the way we used to have to record, because there were only a few tracks, and where everyone is playing at the same time and bouncing off each other. Everyone minutely alters how they're playing or singing according to what they're hearing at that moment. And you stand a chance of capturing a real moment where the final result is greater than the sum of the parts. It's that little bit of magic that you've suddenly frozen in time, and it's there forever. And we wanted to get back to that, and it made the whole process really enjoyable.
It's an incredible album, and I know our viewers are going to want to add it to their playlist, and I hope it comes out on CD and vinyl possibly, because
absolutely it is.
Oh, good.
Yes.
And then
it's coming out on cassette as well,
which has come back again. Who knew?
And on 78s and a few cylinders too.
Do I need to go find my old 8-track player again too? Because I can hear songs when they dip down.
Yes.
Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, because they're going to want to come see you guys in concert, obviously, but also with the new video, the new songs, the brand new album, Different Game, and the documentary. You guys, it's like you guys are starting back from the early 60s again, but it's 2023. Where do our viewers need to go?
Yeah, we are an emerging rock band.
But where's the best place for them to find everything for the Zombies?
thezombiesmusic.com will tell you everything.
But you've also got the Zombies official on Instagram. Is that right? Okay. The Zombies on YouTube. Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel as well. So there you go, and on Twitter.
Well, and also, you know, I'm going along with this also to where, you know, Colin, that you guys launched the zombie craze. So I think you can take credit for that as well, besides the innovative music.
I think we should. Absolutely. And maybe we can get some percentages off these people.
Why not?
Series. Okay, we'll talk to our attorneys this afternoon.
You can engage them and pay for them. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, also, I'm sure with the new tour, it's an international tour you guys are doing with the Zombies. Is there going to be new merch, new T-shirts, and everything also?
Yes. Everything.
We've got some great merch, I have to say, and we can say that because it's nothing to do with us. It's a wonderful team that's behind it.
Yes.
I mean, they've done a great job, honestly. And I don't get. When we first went on the road and capitalized ourselves in this incarnation, you know, and we came to America the first time just for fun, and we capitalized it ourselves because we just wanted to play in America again. But when the merch was so bad then that when someone walked in, said to Colin, "Oh no, someone's wearing one of our t-shirts,"
we would hide.
Let me tell you now, you know, 100% the opposite effect. They're so cool.
Well, and also the great cover too on Different Game. It's a very engaging cover to where it just has that modern feel, which is what you guys are bringing with this dude. And I think that's what's so incredible about both of you and the entire band with the Zombies, is that you're creating new songs, new music, and that's how you're keeping a new audience coming in. And I can't wait to see you guys live in concert as well.
Oh,
brilliant.
Well, I hope you do. That'd be great for you to come along.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rod and Colin, thank you so much. The Zombies. You know, it's just great to talk with you guys about the brand new album, Different Game, the new documentary. You've got videos out, you got merch, it's going to be on vinyl. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.